Are you a single woman over the age of 35, dreaming of love, marriage, and motherhood, but the wait has been longer than you expected? Welcome to the While I Wait podcast. I'm your host, Courtney Steele, and together we'll explore how to embrace this unique chapter of life. We'll transform this season of waiting into a journey of self-discovery, joy, and preparation to help us live fully now while preparing for the love and life we desire. So let's dive in. There's so much to do while we wait. Welcome to While I Wait.
Oh, glad to be here.
In case you all didn't know, these are my lovely parentals. These are my parents, Pamela Steele and Reginald Steele. So I thought it'd be nice to have them on the show to get a perspective of a married couple who have been married for 37 years. This is my example of what love and marriage looks like. So I thought I'd ask them some questions about how they came about, their love language and their love story, as well as raising kids who are predominantly single, as well as just what our chapter looks like in our lives right now. So let's jump in.
Okay.
How are y'all feeling today?
I'm a little nervous, but I'm okay.
Feeling good.
Feeling good? Okay. Well, I figured I love to asking this question, and I thought this would be a good way to start off to break the ice. Can you share with us your love story?
Ooh.
Back in the beginning, all the way back to the beginning.
Way back when. Okay. Husband, you want to start with that?
I want to hear you say your part.
Oh, okay. Well, I met my husband many, many years ago. I think I was about 8th grade. We were at church. He came to my church. I was sitting in the back. He walked in, and he was different. My eyes caught him because he looked like none of the men I had seen before. I think that day, I don't know, remember, did we have conversation that day? I'm not really sure if we had conversation that day. But anyway,
that was cool.
Eventually he came back to visit my dad at my church again later on, another Sunday or whatever. And we started having conversations and got to know his name, his family. We found that our grandparents knew each other because he was bringing his granddad to the church. And I think eventually he went off to college and we lost contact. And my brother, I have an older brother who actually hung around in the Shorter area. He came home one day, he said, "Pam, remember that guy from Shorter?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "He told me to tell you hello." I said, "Really? Oh." And I think it started over again at that point. By this time, I think I was like a senior in high school. So it started there over again. And it really continued after my grandmother passed. He came to my grandmother's funeral. I thought that was very thoughtful, to come to my grandmother's funeral, after having not spoken for a while. And I think that's where it all began. We were a couple by that time. Yeah, that's the way I remember it.
Okay. Dad?
Oh, you want to know my version?
I do want to know your version.
Okay. All right, well, my grandfather bought me a car along with my mother, and he asked me to bring him down to his church, his old church that he joined a long time ago. So I decided to take him. Not looking for anything, I was just taking him to church. He sit in the amen corner. I didn't want to get in the amen corner. I wanted to sit out in the audience. As I sit out in the audience, my version that I saw her in the corner as an usher. And after the service was over, I saw her smile and I smiled back. But I was just giving a smile to a person. And after church was over, she came down and said hi. And I said, "Hello." She said, "My name is Pam." I said, "My name is Reginald." She said, "Are you going with anybody?" I said, "Now she ain't gonna believe this." But I said, "Yes, I am." And she said, "Okay, good. But good to have you here." She really let me know I'm welcome to come to that church. And I said, "I'll be back," because I know as long as my grandfather wants to come back, we'll come back, because we don't have church for 2 Sundays during that time. And he wanted to come down to this church on the other time. So that's how we started. After so long, I think every time I come, Pam will come and speak to me. Say hello. And, in my mind, although I did have a girlfriend during that time, I thought it was nice for a person to come to me and say hi, make me feel welcome. And then she was a good looking girl too. So that caught my attention because she was quite beautiful. But then I stuck to what I were. I was devoted to a person, and I wasn't trying anything. I was just being nice. Eventually, like she said, that I did thought about her when I saw her brother, because her brother used to race cars up to Mommy's place. And I know I don't want to take all your time, but when I saw my dad, I said, "How your sister doing?" He said, "She's doing good. Just tell her I say hello." That's all I thought I needed to say.
Are you still with the girlfriend at this point?
I'm still with the girlfriend.
Okay.
Eventually, the girlfriend decided, she thought that she came to the church to see why I keep going to this church, because that was unusual. But it was nothing other than I was bringing my grandfather at the time. So she came to the church, and Pam came over and said, like she normally do, say, "Hello, Reginald." I said, "Hello, Pam." I said, "Pam, this is my girlfriend."
Don't say her name.
Her name. And she never did look up at Pam. She just said hi.
She's rumbling in her purse.
She rummaged, yeah, she did rummage in her purse, like she was, nervous or either upset. I didn't know either one because I didn't think nothing of it, because there was nothing to it. At the same time, I saw mother up in the choir stand looking down at us.
Her mother? The girlfriend's mother?
Pam's mother.
Oh, grandma. Okay.
Yeah, so, I'll tell you about that later.
Yeah.
But however, after we left and everything, she said, "Is that who you talking to or something?" I said, "No. She's just a friend."
So, that's what the girlfriend's saying.
Yeah, that was the girlfriend saying. So I said, "No, there's nothing to that. We just being friends. She being nice." But eventually she thought it was something to it, because she left and went down to Florida and got another boyfriend. That's when my heart was broken. So since I didn't have a girlfriend at that time, I thought about Pam. And that's when I saw her brother and asked about her.
So all that happened before. Then you saw, once you broke up and you broke up with your girlfriend, then you saw.
Then I seek Pam.
Uncle Butty. And then you saw, that's when you said, say hello.
Yeah, tell her I say hello. Okay. So that's what he did. And I don't know what happened on that side, but I didn't think nothing else of it. I just wanted to let her know that I'm thinking about her and stuff. So I was interested, because I said if I wasn't with the one I was with, she would be a nice one to have. Okay. And I left it like that. Now her grandmother passed, and my grandfather asked me, could I take him down to the church? And I told him, yeah, I'll take you down, because I wanted to see Pam. That was an opportunity to see her again. So when I went down to the church, we couldn't get in the church because the church was crowded, of course. And I just waited at the door, and I just wanted to be a part of showing my support. So as she was coming out of the church, she saw me. She said, "Reginald." And I always loved the way she said my name, even to this day. She said, "Reginald." I said, "Hi." She said, "Well, could you see me after church and talk to me?" I said, "Yeah, I could come over." But it wasn't nothing to that. It's just that we met. And she said, "Thank you for coming and everything. You like to come over to the house?" I said, "I don't know, because it's up to my grandfather. He decided he wanted to go." In my own head, I was saying that we going, because I'm going to talk him into going, because I wanted to see Pam again. I saw this as my new love. Could be, but I didn't know. So as he said, "Well, I don't want to disturb them, but if you want to go," I said, "Well, I thought you might want to see your friend and everything." So, "Well, I could go and see him for a few minutes." And my heart said, "Wow,
Yes.
got it." So I played my tricks to get over there, and I went over, and then she saw me. I don't recall too much of that part, because I did see her, and we did talk a little while. Maybe she didn't know more about that part. I don't know. She remember anything about that?
No, it wasn't much to that. We just had we just talked.
Yeah.
Just general basic conversations,
Okay.
Catching up on what you've been up to, because by that time you'd gone off to college.
Yep.
You spent a lot of time in college, and so
I wrote you some letters while I was in college.
we did. We
Always put
exchanged letters.
my perfume on the letters,
Your
so she always
cologne,
know what it smells like.
Yeah,
Although she don't like it now, and I wouldn't put it on now because I don't like it myself. It was polo green.
Yeah, it felt good back in the
Back
those
then,
days.
it was a dynamite, but now it's probably something you need pour in the drain.
Yeah, I think it was after my grandmother passed that we actually started.
Yeah,
writing.
Trying to talk.
Because that was back in the day when a phone call was long distance. It's not like it is today where you have cell phones.
Right.
Phone calls were long distance, and we would just exchange letters, and our relationship deepened at that point. But I will say this: when he first walked into my church, now our story kind of gets mixed up. We don't somewhat agree. That's not my personality to see a person the first day and dive into.
Hi, Reginald.
Yeah, that's not me. I was staring from the corner. Like I said, I was on the left end of the bench. He was in front of me on the right end of the bench. And I could tell that he knew I was looking at him because he was bad. He had long eyelashes.
It was like fire in her neck.
No, let me tell it. That's not what I would say.
Well, okay. I know what I felt.
Because how you gonna say like fire?
You're saying you felt fire on your neck.
I felt fire.
Oh, okay.
Like she felt my fire.
No. No, you must have felt fire on your neck. It wasn't me. But anyway, I could tell he was looking, and he would just blink his eyes slowly and bat his eyes because he had, long eyelashes. He probably still did have those eyelashes. Yeah, and he would blink his eyes, and then kind of cut down, look at me at the corner down there, and blink again. And then he had this really cute cut above his eye. Is it still there?
Still there, yeah.
Yeah, that just really caught my attention. He had a little cute cut.
That's from falling out of bed. My brother pushed me out.
Very slim guy. And I think so. That Sunday we didn't. I don't know if we even talked. I don't even think we did, but he came back a few other times. I think that's when we started having conversation. Now I was ushering. This is my version of the story. I was ushering when he brought his girlfriend, and he was very honest. He told me he had a girlfriend. It was okay, and I did that because I didn't want my mother or other church members to say, "Oh, wow, look at this guy. He's being disrespectful. He's bringing another girl to church. He's looking at her." So it wasn't like that. So I had to act normal. Like, we don't have a relationship. We're just, getting to know each other. He's just a friend. That's it.
How did your mother feel?
So I went over there and I introduced myself to him. I said hello to him. Like he said, he introduced his girlfriend to me. And I told him she never made eye contact. She was ramming through her purse. She didn't look up. She looked up quickly and said, "Hi," and went back as if she was very nervous. And I think she was thinking that in her head, she thought something was going on, but it really wasn't. He was very, very genuine, very calm, and very honest about his relationship, Yeah.
So then y'all are talking. I know I like the little details of the story. And so there's some point that y'all are courting, I guess, and you're bringing Kit Kats and pickles. That's how you win Mama over?
Yeah.
I finally got a chance to come over to the house.
Without Granddaddy?
Without Granddaddy. Granddaddy had to be left at the house.
Yeah.
But I came over and trying to ask for permission from my mother, but her mother gave me the cold shoulder.
You're going to skip that part?
Yeah, she said, you're going to skip that part?
Skipping that part. We're talking about y'all.
Okay. but yeah, I used to come over and I bring every day I get off work house.
Well, he would ask me,
okay,
"What do you want me to bring you?" I go, a Kit Kat and a pickle.
I thought that was strange. Kit Kat and a pickle.
That was my favorite candy at the time, and I love pickles. So Kit Kat and a pickle. And that's all I asked for. And he'd bring a Kit Kat and a pickle.
Every time?
Yeah. Well, he'd always ask me what I wanted. And it was always usually the same thing. I don't think I ever changed. I think it was always a Kit Kat and a pickle. Kit Kat and a pickle. That was it. Yeah.
Okay. And so then what's next? How do we get to the point where y'all are married? So y'all are courting?
Yeah. We're courting.
We had one of those incidents.
What incidents?
Watch your mic.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
With you said you wanted to elope.
Well, no, let's not even talk about that. I was an 18-year-old kid, you know what I was talking about. But anyway, at this point, now it's time for me to go off to college. So I've graduated from high school. We've been
I took her to the high school.
we've been dating. You know, yeah, I took her to my graduation.
She was
and all of
late
that.
for her.
I was late for my graduation. Yes, yeah.
And I got blamed for that.
That's true. He did get blamed,
Yep.
and I didn't correct that story. So now it's time for me to head off to college to University of Alabama. And he took me up there, got me settled in, and all of that great stuff. Yeah. Now, this part, and I don't know. Now, Reginald is a baby of several brothers. You had how many brothers, Reginald?
6 brothers.
6 brothers, and he's the baby.
3 sisters.
Baby of 10.
Yeah.
Ultimate baby of 10.
Yeah, baby of 10.
On my mom's side.
Yes, on mom's side.
So he's had, I think his brothers, this is my thinking, that his brothers knew that his girlfriend was heading off to college. And I think they were trying to tell him, you know, I don't know if you can trust that. You better be careful about that. You got a girl going off to college, man. I don't know that. And I think they kind of frightened him a little bit. Because it wasn't long when I got to the university that he was proposing. I was like, oh my God, this is my first college experience. I'm going to have a fiance, you know? I wasn't at that point. I was thinking I would, you know, graduate, then we get married, and then start our family. But I think the rush was because of what his brothers. That's the way I think.
It wasn't.
Okay, it wasn't there? Okay. I was thinking his brothers.
I just wanted to grab her.
No.
I fell in love with her. I wanted to be with her.
But was there some type of fear that, oh, you go to university and...
No, the part about that is that I didn't care about a girlfriend being distant off because of the relationship I just been in.
Okay.
Not trusting and everything. So I decided to just propose to you, see if you wanted to be serious about this or not. You know? So I proposed, and we went from there.
Yeah, you proposed, and I don't even know if you had a ring. Did you have a ring?
Oh, I had a ring.
I don't think you had a ring.
I had a ring. I had my brother try the ring. Charlie sold me a ring that he had to his girlfriend. He was going to propose to, but it didn't happen. So he sold it to me. So I brought it.
Okay, because I remember
to you. Promise you I could get another ring.
Okay, yeah. I remember us going to service merchandise. So that's how we became a married couple. Well, but then we simply married, several months later? No, I came home because I was on campus in Tuscaloosa.
Yeah, and I said, you know, I can't. That Distant Love song was on by, what's his name? Distant Lovers.
Is that the Childline?
And that kind of got no shot at it.
Okay. I don't know. No, that
was, okay. I'll have to tell you about that one. But I told her, if you come home, I'll marry you right away. I wanted to marry you. I said, the only way I can marry you is that you come closer. That was when you came to AUM.
Marvin Gaye?
Marvin Gaye, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I don't remember you saying it like that. I don't know exactly how it all unfolded. I had to think about it.
I wanted you to remember.
But yeah, you did. And you did try and see there were some universities, and it was like AUM was closer. And I said, okay. Checked it out. And I said, yeah, we can do that. And I transferred to AUM. And then we got married July 25th. Thank you.
1985. No.
I was still in high school in 85.
87.
87, yes.
Got married in 1987. Then we were
3 months later.
3 months later, we were expecting Courtney.
The one we're looking at now.
Yes, 3 months later. And then you came in 88, and it's just been, that's it.
Dad, how did you know you were ready to marry Mama?
I was lonely, one thing. Okay. And I wanted someone I could be with forever. And I just decided to say, who would be that one? I thought the one that I had was going to be that one, but it wasn't. And then I look at what God does. God changed things. And I was into church. I was a deacon during that time. And I look at it like, if God, whatever he had for me is what I'll accept. And when he brought Pam into my life, I thought Pam was a knockout to me. And I think I wanted to be with her the rest of my life. You know, and I was willing to marry her for that reason.
Yeah.
So
Mm-hmm.
that's how it was.
Okay. And I guess
She was so pretty. Her eyes. She had the slew leg, bow leg, or something like that. I don't know what was it.
I don't have bow legs.
Oh,
It was slew pretty. So her legs she has a pretty legs. And she had the best smile like she had now.
Oh, no bow legs.
And it just does it for me. I said, well, I've been proud to have her on my shirt.
Mm-hmm.
And so, why not? I
Mommy,
wasn't looking for nobody else.
mm-hmm. Mommy, you said you weren't necessarily ready. You had a thought in your mind about, finishing school and then starting a family. What made you say, go ahead and say, okay, well, he's asking me, I'm going to accept it. We're going to move forward.
I think I began to think about, I think my grandfather said something to me. It wasn't anything bad. It's
What he
just
always
that,
said was something, though. He said a lot.
let me think
He
how
gave me
he
the
said.
check. He gave me the check mark every time I come. You got your job? You still got your job? You gonna have your job? I said, yes, sir. I said, okay.
You would make sure that he was
handing off somebody with a career.
Yeah, he was concerned that if I got married, that I wasn't gonna finish school.
Mm-hmm.
That I would get married, start having children, and that would be the end of it.
Mm-hmm.
But I was like, no.
But I was assuring him. I said,
no, that's not gonna be my story, and it wasn't my story. I
was at the graduation.
Exactly, you were there.
I was there.
It took me a long time to graduate. It took me I think 6 or 7 years to graduate, but I was having a family. I was having my cake and eating it too. Let me just say it like that. So, what was your question?
It's okay. It wasn't necessarily. I mean, I was just asking, like, what made you say instead of waiting until you got. Okay. Your plan was to wait until you graduated college. Yeah. But what made you go ahead and say yes? And that may not be a hard answer for that.
No, it really
but
wasn't.
She never pressed me not to.
No, I knew we were very
she
compatible.
Knew I was serious about her.
Compared to previous boyfriends, you kind of know that.
Well,
they're not the one.
You prayed for me and I showed up.
Hold on, I'm just gonna get around to my prayer.
Okay, honey.
You pretty much know that your previous boyfriends were not the one. How did you know they were not the one? The compatibility wasn't there. You tried to make it work, but it was like there's some kind of like, and then they were younger. They were my age. Regin's only 4 years older than me, but he've had some experiences in life. He kind of pretty much knew what he wanted. I think I knew when it was like in high school, I purchased 2 frames. I wanted to be a wife and have 2 kids. So I had already bought these little frames for my kids, and I did have the 2 kids, but I actually had 4 actually. But anyway, I kind of just knew that he was the one. I liked the way he respected and treated his mom. I liked the way he was very considerate, even to my own mother. When he came to my mom seriously, he actually brought her a gift. Came to her with a gift. Now, I don't know how well received it was, but but he was a very thoughtful, kind-hearted, compassionate person. So I just kind of knew, and we got along well. There was no hesitation, communicated well. Anything I thought, I could say it. Anything he thought, he could say it. So it was natural. It was just a natural relationship. So I kind of knew that if we got married, it'd be for life, and we'd make it. Yeah.
What has your love story taught you all about love, marriage, about yourselves? What have you learned from your marriage or your love story?
I can start. Well, I learned that patience is a virtue. Sincerity needs to be true. Honesty is the best policy. Just base it off your faith. My faith played a great part of it because I trust God that He'll lead me to the right one. And because of that, I do have the right one and never will need another one. It taught me to love this person with everything I got, and I get it back. Yeah.
When you said pray for the right one, it made me think about when I was in high school. Because like I said, I wanted to be a wife and a mom. But I was a senior in high school. And I would pray to the Lord and say, Lord, show me my husband. Now, I think I was asking the question. I thought to myself, now, if he actually, I was in my bedroom, if a man actually had appeared, I would have been terrified. So I understand, but at the time, looking back on it, he had already shown my husband because I was talking to my husband. Mm-hmm. You know, my husband was visiting me. Mm-hmm. So I had to see my husband. Yeah. But at the time, I didn't know it was my husband. You know, so I just thought about that, and that was just funny. I'm thinking, Lord, don't thank you for not doing that, because had you shown me a man at that point, it would have terrified me.
Yeah. Can I say this? Mm-hmm. While I was single, between Pam and the other lady I was dating, when she left, I was lonely. Mm-hmm. I was isolated. My brother tried to find people for me to talk to, and nothing that was doing.
You're playing blues.
I played the blues. I played the blues for a whole year. Isolated in my room. I go to work and come back and get back in my room and cry.
Was it a year?
It was a year.
Wow.
And they could tell you a whole nother story of it. But nobody was fitting. No matter who they brought or who came around me or who probably wanted to talk to me, wouldn't fit the strip. Only somebody was able to fit it was the one I chose, along with the court.
Oh, okay. All right.
You mentioned that when you were right before you asked mom to marry her, you were lonely. Would that be a quality you would ultimately? I want to say that that's not something that I would say would recommend for nowadays. That loneliness be your reason why asking for someone to marry you. You had other reasons as well. You were still in the Lord. You were still praying about it. You still had other things, but loneliness wasn't your driving factor. While that may have been your current state, that wasn't your driving factor as to why you decided to marry mom. I just want to make sure like men are out there talking about, oh, I'm lonely, let me go find a woman.
Oh, no. That's not how you make a big mistake doing that.
That's an emotional, temporary feeling. So you don't want to make lifelong decisions off of that. There were other factors in him picking my mamas, and they worked for them. So Mama, what qualities did you look for in a spouse?
This one was number one for me, that he had to love God. Mm-hmm. What I did not want was on a Sunday morning to wake up and my husband would be at home in the bed watching the game while I'm taking my children to church. Mm-hmm. So that was important to me, that he's the lover of God first. Then he was able to take care of his family, have some ambitions and some goals. I think a bonus I got was that Reginald is very funny, not even trying. He's just what he said, just funny. So it keeps me laughing. Mm-hmm. So he keeps me laughing, not on purpose. It's just he did himself, Yeah. But that was the number one. And then allow me to be who I am. Not try to hinder me or make me into something he wants me to be. This is who I am. Take it or leave it. This is it. Not to say that I can't improve or change in some areas. But I'm just saying generally overall, I'm myself. Mm-hmm. So that was pretty much what was mainly important to me.
Mm-hmm. Was that still important to you after you got married?
Yes. Okay. Mm-hmm. That was still important to me even after I got married. Okay. Yes.
Dad, what was, besides her striking beauty, what were important qualities were you looking for in a wife?
I needed somebody to be my mate. Mm-hmm. Have a job, was smart, which I know she was smart because she's very articulate. Mm-hmm. Someone that wanted a family, because I knew I wanted a family. Mm-hmm. Someone that cared for me. I was looking for a cook too, somebody that knew how to cook, and I think I got a little tricked on that one. But now she know how to cook.
Yeah, I didn't come into
then here's a meal that I got that I didn't know what was going on.
But I was in college.
Yes, she was in college. She cooked a college meal. I said, wow. But at home, she did something different because I guess her mother was over during that time. But
well, you had to learn. Once you get a family, you got to learn how to cook.
Yes, you did good.
I would have never known she knew how to cook. All my life, still.
I didn't. I didn't go into the marriage knowing how to cook. I thought I could cook some things.
Orange rice wasn't it?
But I think that's the only thing he remembers in college. That was the only part.
That was a bad part.
It was orange rice. The rice
Out
was
of
orange.
seasoned salt.
No, it was not seasoning salt. It was not. It was it was the box macaroni, and they had that little orange packet of to make the macaroni orange. Well, somehow it got into the rice too, so the rice all became orange. All of it
But
was
the only
orange.
thing about it, when she set the plate before me, she didn't have a plate. So I'm wondering why you don't have what I got.
She make herself a plate.
She didn't make herself that plate.
That was for you.
She made it for me.
That was your
Then
meal.
why should I eat this? You are not gonna eat it. So. Okay. But the other qualities was, like I say, she was sincere. Mm-hmm. She looked me in my eyes when she said talk. She didn't seem like the player type, somebody that is playing games. Mm-hmm. I think she wanted what I wanted.
And I wasn't the player type. No. What I did not want was to be in one relationship after the other, having whatever they expected. I didn't want to play that game. Mm-hmm. I knew that I was supposed to be a wife. Mm-hmm. So being a girlfriend and just going from one relationship to the next was something I decided I wasn't going to do. Mm-hmm. So I chose not to do that. And when I saw Reginald, I didn't think he's going to be my husband, but there was definitely a different type of attraction. There was potential there I saw. And then back in those days, they would invite people to the front of the church. He was able to lead devotion and could sing. And I was like, ooh. What's that song you sing, Reginald? How can I live in sin and feel my Savior's love?
It wasn't quite like that, but...
So when he sang that, I was like, ooh, he can sing and lead devotion. Mm. That's a good one. He was the keeper. Gotcha. How'd you sing it? Sing it.
I want to sing.
How can I live in sin?
I live in sin and
feel my Savior's love.
Yeah, I can't sing it now. I'm still laughing.
I remember that. I was like, wow. Okay. Daddy. Not only is he taking us to church, but he can actually lead devotion and sing. Okay. All right. So that was good.
So I had to be a deacon to do that. Mm. I was a junior deacon.
Yeah, I guess you were a junior deacon. Maybe that's what it was.
I was a deacon.
Mm. Yeah, I remember them inviting him to the front of my church, inviting him to lead devotion. And he stepped up there. I didn't know what to expect, but I got that surprise. So
at her church.
Yeah, and it was a good surprise. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So let's bring in our single women to the conversation. What would you say, what is one thing single women should know about what marriage actually is compared to what culture portrays?
What would you say culture portrays?
I guess culture, well, a lot of women complain about being single. They're saying, oh, I'm lonely. I have no one to do things with. I just want my person. I want somebody to be there with me. So it's kind of like, I've heard some people say it as in, another body in the bed, or not have to do things by themselves. Or to me, it's not always having to be strong and my own advocate for every single thing. I'm using the example of like going grocery shopping. It's the most draining thing to think about what you want to eat, make the list, go grocery shopping, load it into your car, go home, take it out of the car, take it upstairs, put it away. Then you gotta take it back out and wash it. Then you gotta cook it. Now I want to eat it. I don't want none of that. I don't want any of that. So to me, marriage portrays I get it. I guess I'm talking more about what other people think as far as it's not, you have someone, you have the cute wedding and you have the pictures,
and your life after
gorgeous
all of that.
Family. And it's just like, we only see the easy part. We only see the part that we're longing for. What's it like to really be married and to really have, another person that you're committed to now?
I think it's a lot of work, because once the family comes, that put a lot of stress on a marriage, because now it's not just the two of you. You got children you got to be concerned about. You have to work. You have to make money. You got to be responsible for these other individuals. So, the part about having a companion, not having to go here or there by yourself, or having financial assistance, that is all great, but there's a lot of other parts. It is a lot of work. Mm-hmm. Trying to hold everything together. I know for me, having the kids, having children was a joy, but it also became a lot of work for me. And there are times I had to pull Reginald in and say, listen, we got to kind of deal with these kids together, because basically, I'm a teacher. So everywhere I went, y'all were pretty much there, all our summer breaks were together. Through the school day, the year was together. Through the school day, we're together. Because we're in the same school, same location, that kind of thing. So, I think it required communication, communicating to them know that okay, because when the dynamic changed, we got to think, okay, now how are we gonna do this? Okay, who's gonna do what?
Yeah.
But overall, I would say it's a lot of work. It's not just after the wedding and after the family photos, you still got to hold everything together and have that conversation. Because as it changed, like now, we went through another change. We're empty nesters now, so we're totally different people again. So there are good parts to it, and it's just a lot of work. I would say a lot of work. What would you say?
It's a partnership.
Yeah.
What I mean by that, back in the day, the dad would go to work and the mother take care of the house. It's not like that now because the mother go to work as well and daddy go to work, and we both need to help with the kids because it could be an overload to a woman by herself. And I saw that. I had to see that because I saw some tears that I wasn't expecting because I didn't know why. I had to learn how to be a better dad later on in life maybe after the first or second kid. I realized that I got to be a partner in helping raise the kid because most times, like I say, I was used to seeing the daddy go to work and the mother stay at home and do all the work with the kids. But the Bible don't speak of that. It says the dad got to be the leader of the house. And I had to find my way of where can I play my part as the leader of the house. Like we said, it's a working process. It get hard because you know some things you probably didn't expect it during that time, and it came to fruition. And how do we deal with this? Because we never had to enter this part, and we had to find our way into communication. Communication was the key to our marriage. We always say we got to talk. Whether we want to talk sometime or not, we got to talk in order to keep it strong. And I think we got a good, we have good conversation. We have good talks about what we need to do. We base a lot of things off the Bible, but the Bible would tell us to do. Even in our arguments, we always say what God would say. How will He deal with this? By we doing it on our own mind is one way, but doing it God's way is the right way. And we knew that. I think we both knew that. Doing it His way is the right way, and we tried to follow that instruction.
Well, and Scripture does say, "Can two walk together unless they agree?"
Yeah.
So I'm thinking, in any kind of partnership, you got to have like the same mind, so that you can, or get an understanding of the other person's mind, so that you can kind of walk together and not, have this big argument and and go separate ways. Another thing for me is early on, I did hear, well, in my mind, I did think that, well, if this doesn't work out, we can just get a divorce, But it was Tony Evans, a pastor in Dallas, Texas, who said God hates divorce. I was like, what?
Yeah.
So when he said God hates divorce, that means that wasn't an option for me anymore. Because then I began to think, well, why would God hate divorce? And then you think about, okay, if you divorce, and you can see what happens in society now when people divorce, what happens, how things are torn apart, relationships die. Maybe one person wanted, another person did not. You got the children split up. It's just and I started thinking about that, and I thought, oh yeah, I could see why he would hate that. So I think having that option no longer available, then you're forced to have a conversation, make discussions, come to some type of agreement that's fair. But like you said, he observed that, wait a minute, because from his understanding, this is what women did. But then he saw that, yeah, I am an employed person outside the home. So we have to kind of work, and we do that even still today. You know, but even when y'all are gone, you know, that y'all grown up and moved on. It's a balance. You come in the house, see the dishes in the sink, you go ahead and start washing them. It's not, well, it's not my day, your day. No, it just wash the dishes. He may wash them, you know, a few times before I get around to it, but eventually he does. I'll see the trash can at the end of the road. I'll bring the trash down, you know. So it's kind of like that. It's not like this is your job, my job. It's like we're just working together, partnership, you know.
You tried to leave the argument out. One thing, find a way not to argue about it. Even when we was taught as well in old churches, in the rural churches, some of them, that submission was that word that I knew was in the Bible, but we sometimes misinterpret what it means. Submission, you know, to most men may mean that whatever I say, you do. But it wasn't like that, you know, with us, because I knew, and I had to learn that though. I had to learn because, like I said, we were taught one way. But when we get to, that's why it's good to find the best church for you. I had to leave my family church to go find a church for me and my family. And as I was in those churches, I was learning the difference between submission, tithes, and things like that. What it means to submit to your wife, and your wife submit to you and respect you, and you respect her. And because of that, is what made our marriage, I think, stronger, because we didn't just read a word and just go with that. We had to look inside that word and find out what it really means, what it's saying to us, and keep our marriage strong.
How did you, and you may have touched on a little bit, so we don't have to stay here long, but how did you both handle seasons when things weren't exciting or weren't easy? Was it that communication or?
Communication, the prayer. Sometimes I had to leave the house. I was taught when I got married that sometimes you might have to leave the house to keep from arguing. You might have to get in your car and drive down the road and then come back. But come back with your scriptures or whatever and then reason it out. That's what I did sometimes. Sometimes I went outside and scream or holler, or I might want to hit something, you know, but never thought about hitting my wife, but because I never would have did that. But I had to go away because I was angry. And he's angry, but the Bible tells you not to sin. So I go out there and get angry and walk it off, or go cut the lawn. And I had a big yard, 10 acres of cutting. So I go out there and cut. By the time I get through cutting, I'm too tired to be angry anymore. I'm trying to go to bed, getting to go to bed. Then we do talk. We still say good night, and we try not to go to bed in anger. It also taught us that.
I think also, what was my thought? I just lost it. It's gone.
It's gone.
But your thoughts are okay. So you had to express it in other ways, taking time apart, having those, providing some space.
It's good to go
let the emotion die down, calm down.
So you can think about what you don't want to make the mistake. And saying like you said that she might have thought about divorce. You don't want to do a divorce and then you really didn't mean to do it. But then you done said it. You done strengthened that person's head, so now that person thinks you want to leave them. So before you get to all that, you go away, and then even if you have to go and talk to somebody else about, I'm angry. What do you do? A Christian person.
Someone that, not just anybody.
Oh yeah, you don't talk to anybody. Somebody who you believe in, that will give you honest opinion or honest truth. You say, what do you do in this case? And then not give them all the information, but give them something to relate to.
And then you got to really examine it, because sometimes, is it worth all of that? You know, is it really worth all that kind of energy to give into it, that situation? You know, I always say this now, you know, said it then, I say it now, that not only this too shall pass, but it's like when we have the worst storm in our life, our physical life, also in in nature, rainstorm, thunderstorm, tornado, whatever, the sun comes out. You have to always stick around for the sunshine. So the sun will come out again. So when you go through your rough patches, you know, there's nothing wrong with it. That kind of makes you stronger and better if you examine it the correct way and look at it the correct way. You know, don't look at it and say, well, I think if I hadn't changed my, if I didn't hear that pastor say God hates divorce, I may have, that rough patch may have sent me like, I'm going to divorce for it. This is it. I'm not dealing with this. Nope. But hearing that rough patch made you say that's not an option. So you close that door. So you got to face whatever you're dealing with and come through it. Just know that the sun will shine again.
And you fall back on scriptures that you have learned. Just like you say,
or find them if you don't know them.
Find them, and then some songs help me because I go and get some of them songs just to get me out of this hole I'm in. The sun come up tomorrow, and I might look at it, she might laugh. I don't know, but we'll do things to get back in. Sometimes when I might have made a mistake and don't want to admit it, you might say something just to make her laugh again, then you kind of slide back in and say, "Well, I was wrong. I was wrong about this." It's good to admit when you're wrong. You need to really admit that you're wrong because somebody was wrong. So when we was able to admit that, it made it strong.
And then we may have both been wrong at some point in it.
I did this and you didn't.
Or maybe it's a total misunderstanding.
Yeah.
But staying in that stronghold, you'll never get to that point. You'll always stay in these parallels instead of getting back into.
And we knew that divorce was out of the question.
Exactly.
So I went, like I told you, you go back home to your mother. I have said that to her. She's like, I ain't going nowhere. What can you do then that laugh?
I was like, you're not sending me anywhere.
Nowhere. She said it with a real. Okay. I ain't going nowhere. Well, you need to go. I told her I'll bring you back. We can't get along. And she said, well, you can go somewhere, but I ain't going nowhere.
Exactly.
Either way, neither one of those worked. So we didn't know.
I think it's interesting, and it's something I thought. I don't think I've ever said it to you all, though, but you all both come from single parent homes. And you all didn't necessarily have the example that I have in you all to see a marriage that works. Works meaning it was worked, it was work, and it worked. So I think that I like to make sure I mention that because I have to realize that my reality isn't everybody's story. Everybody didn't get to see two people. Literally, I watched them grow up together. I remember my mama being 26 specifically because I was 6 years old at that point. So I remember you all I just remember y'all being young and mama calls me guinea pig because it was like every step was I don't know. I've never done this before, Courtney. I don't know. Yeah. I don't know, Courtney. I've never had a child in middle school before. I don't know. I've never had a child in high school, Courtney. I don't know. I've never had a child in college, Courtney. I don't every step of the way. It was like we figuring this out together. Yeah, exactly. And I appreciate that honesty, but at the same time, we worked it out. It wasn't an option of. It was never like that push of get out my house when you turn 18. It was like you're always welcome here. To a degree, you got to be working, you got to be going to school, doing something. But I just realized, I genuinely have been blessed to be able to see my parents together the entire time. That's not everybody's story. But then I have to also remind when I tell people about you all, I say, but they didn't come from families. They didn't have an example. So it doesn't have to be that what you see is what you are, because you all debunked that. You all changed the trajectory of our family history moving forward. Because I saw that in you all. I think that's part of the reason why I'm still single, because I wasn't just rushed to any other man's arms. Yeah. And it made me have standards that's not what I'm looking for. That's not what I want. That's not what the Lord has for me. Even if it took me a long time to figure it out. I just know that if I did figure it out, it wasn't still, even then mama would still say, so don't worry about it. It's not that you've wasted time. You've learned lessons. You've learned things. You've grown and you've developed. You've done things. But back to you all, making sure that people know, it wasn't that this is a third generation of strong marriages. This is a first generation strong marriage. These are first generation college graduates. These are first generation. So exactly. I think that has to be said, that it doesn't just because what you've seen and it's what you've experienced doesn't mean that's what it has to be for you as well.
Yeah. It's a choice. I mean, you have a choice in the matter. You can decide what future you want. Yeah. So even though you didn't see it, you can still long for it and say, but this is what I wanted. I can remember being a little kid on the playground in Rochester, New York. And we were in an apartment complex. And there was one of the guys, I think either he was a security guard or a policeman or something along that kind of the security line. But he and his wife had the door open and they were watching their children play. And she was behind him, just holding him. And I just looked at that and thought, oh, that's beautiful. I just looked at it and thought it was beautiful. So yeah, you have a choice in the matter. It doesn't have to be, you can write your own story. So.
What I always, I think I told you, when looking for someone that you want to be with, set your standards high.
Yeah.
Higher than you. Don't let him bring your standards down low. Set your standard high and stick there. Because then he got to come up to your level where you want to be. You know, I know where I wanted to be, and her level was up high, and I was trying to meet her level. You know, and I tried to get there. And when she set her standard to a certain level, my thing was to get there and get that flag. You know, and that's what I challenge you. You know, you and whoever seeking marriage, set your standard high, and don't let no man. I'm a man. Don't let no man bring it down.
Keep your standards high. My dad has told me that my entire life. Aren't they just the cutest? So much wisdom and knowledge to be learned from both of them. And good thing for you, we are just getting started. Join us next time for part 2 of Lessons on Love with Mom and Dad. It will give advice to single women who feel they have been waiting forever. I'll ask them a few fun and personal questions about the quirks of their marriage. And we'll finally learn the one thing singles have that they admire and desire the most for themselves. So be sure to join us. Thank you so much for joining me on While I Wait. Be sure to hit the subscribe button so you don't miss an episode. You can find While I Wait on Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, Spotify, and the iHeart app. Also, connect with us on Facebook and Instagram at While I Wait Podcast. I love to hear your thoughts and topic suggestions, so be sure to leave them in the comments. Remember, new episodes drop every first and third Friday at 6 p.m. Thank y'all so much for joining me once again. This is Courtney Steele signing off. And until next time, keep thriving.